Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to talk to you about having dogs and a nice garden. So I really love gardening, but I really love dogs. And so over the years I've had to find a way to make the two work together because they don't automatically work very well together. So let me start here. So I'm standing in my sitting room. So if you watch my channel, you'll be very familiar with that. And this is an area, we've got double doors, and then this is an area off it. And this wasn't planned, but it came about by accident, but it's absolutely brilliant. And it's really good because it means I can enclose some of the garden off. So they still got access to outside, but they haven't got access to the whole garden. Now, our garden's really small, so that helps no end, really, with security and safety. But if I'm working and I'm really engrossed in what I'm doing, I'm not always going to be focusing on the boys if they're outside. And so I never want them to be outside if I'm not keeping an eye on them. So this works really well. So having an area that is just off the back door, off the sitting room door, that is enclosed, so they can go out. If they need to, they can go to the toilet here. They can go outside, get some fresh air, whatever, have a sniff about. But it's really not that big. And it means that they are very safe because I'm just here working, but they have access to outside. And to stop them from actually going and having access to the rest of the garden, I use these, and they're actually fire guards, and I use these all the time, all over the place. So they're absolutely brilliant for the garden and stopping dogs doing things. And it looks quite nice. I mean, it's not the ugliest thing, is it? It looks all right. And it just goes across there, and it stops them from having access to the whole garden, which is really good. And yet I'm able to keep it pretty with pots. They don't bother with pots. Puppies probably will still bother with pots. So if they were puppies, you might want to get your pots off the ground so they can't reach like those ones. But my boys are older now, and so they don't bother with pots, you know, pots that are on the floor. The other thing that's really good out here is, let me show you if I step back, are these umbrellas. So if it gets too warm for them to be outside, then I will put another fire guard across this doorway so they can't get out at all. But if it's warm enough for them, it's okay for them to be outside, but there is sunshine and they have a tendency to want to sunbathe, and I don't want them doing that, especially if I'm working and I'm not concentrating on them. So I've got these, and they are absolutely brilliant. I'll show you the base of that in a minute from the other angle, and this one here that just goes over the door. So this is a half one, and then we've got this one here, and they're absolutely brilliant, and they're really easy to put up and down. And what it means is that when it's sunny, this whole area stays in the shade. So I haven't ever got to worry about them coming out here and sunbathing and getting too hot. And yet you see we've got our barbecue here, we eat here. It's all very pretty, but it's really quite functional for the boys. So this is me standing at my kitchen door. Again, if you know my channel, you will be very familiar with my kitchen. And we go out here. Now, this again was not particularly planned. It was just, we got lucky in that the house, when we bought this house, this is all paving. And what I've done is I've built these brick, what would you call them? Bedding areas, borders. So that, because the other option was that I took up some of the slabs and had plant borders, you know, on the ground. But the problem I've got with that is two things: digging and dogs going to toilet. I'll talk to you in a minute about the damage dogs going to toilet has done to my plants. So I made this myself, as you can tell. I have so much respect for bricklayers, because buttering is really impossibly hard. And so I went for a rustic look. And so I built these. These are actually quite new. I've only sort of built these in the last year. And then I can have all my plants in there, and there's no risk of anybody digging or anybody peeing on my plants. And then I've done the same over here. I built this brick border as well. Now I have hit a slight problem with this area. So what happened was, Humps, none of my dogs are out. We've just got back from our walk and they're all fast asleep in the sitting room. But he loves digging, loves it, absolutely loves it. And I'll show you his area in a minute. But what happened was, one day, see up there, it gets really hot, really, really hot. And he loves sunbathing. So I used a fire guard to block off these stairs so he couldn't get up there. And that was when I realised that when he gets the urge to dig, he really gets the urge to dig and he has to fulfil it. So what he did was he jumped up on this border and in seconds just dug a really big hole and really damaged a lot of my plants. So I've put this fire guard up here and this chair, and it's just keeping him off it for now. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you a permanent thing that I've done. There's another area of the garden where I don't want them going at all. And so I've done a permanent structure there so they can't get onto it. But I'm hoping that if I can keep these stairs open, humps won't go back up on this border. So this again, you know, look, it's just a fire guard. And it's really pretty. Really, really pretty. Very pretty indeed, actually. I really, really like it. And it's just temporarily just blocking him off so he can't get up on there. And I'm hoping that I can take it away and he won't want to ever get back up on there. I'll show you in a minute the solution I've got for that. Again here, I've just got pots. So everything is in pots, so it's off the ground so that dogs peeing on them isn't an issue. Things like this ivy, that does become an issue because one of my dogs, there is something about when he goes for a pee that he kills plants so quickly. It's really weird. It's only one of my dogs. The other two don't seem so bad, but I find sometimes that if he keeps peeing on this ivy, the bottom of it goes a little bit funny. So I just water over the top of it, and then I find that that's not too bad. Or sometimes I just cut it a bit shorter to keep it off the ground. But he hasn't been peeing on there lately, so that hasn't been a problem. Right, so this is what we refer to as Piddle Alley. And again, it's all hard standing and I've left it like that. And then I've just used, like I've got an old sofa there, they're just pots. And then this is actually an old chest of drawers. And I've just used them as borders for my plants. And it means that they can pee up them and it's not a problem and they can't get to the plants. They do pee along here, that's all fine, that's not a problem. And that's just my potting bench and where I hang my washing. But you can see, really lovely plants in here. I love this area. It's a shame the roses aren't out because they have been out and they've been absolutely beautiful. I don't understand why my winter pansies are still flowering in middle of July. Nearly the end of July. It's crazy. But you see, they've got lovely things here and the boys can pee all they want up there and they can't do any damage. And my lavenders are all doing fine again in pots. Everything's up and off the ground. On the next video I do, I'm going to do a video about how I keep this from smelling horrible, because in the summer sometimes, if it hasn't rained a lot, with 3 dogs peeing on this, it can get a bit smelly. And so on the next video, which will be Thursday, I'm going to show you what I do to stop that being a problem. You see, and we just got all along here. Right, so let me show you the area that we let Humps dig. So if we go up these stairs here, I'm absolutely fascinated with sempervivums. I absolutely love them. Now, I couldn't have pots this low anywhere else because the boys would pee on them and that would be the end of them. But I find, again, this is just, look, they're just old drawers. I haven't spent a fortune on pots. And I find that because it's going up the steps, they wouldn't be able to balance, and so nobody pees on the steps. I've painted these flowers on the steps simply because when it gets a bit darker in the evenings, it can be a bit hard to tell where the steps start and finish, so I just painted them on there. But I want to show you this area here, so you can see, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up, but at the back there's quite a big hole, and this is where Humps digs his hole, and he really needs to dig. It's like an instinctive thing for him. He really, really needs to dig. So before we got him, so we've only had him for like 10 months, he's a rescue from Korea. But he, before he came, this was a beautiful meadow. But he straight away started to dig, and I realised that he does need to dig. And he digs every day. Every day he goes and does some work on his hole at the back there. And so I have got some things growing, but, you know, they get trod on, it gets dug, it's not going very well. There is actually some beautiful roses. There's a lovely honeysuckle there, bay tree, I've got some strawberries that I'm trying to grow there. So this area is a bit rubbish and it looks a bit rubbish, but I have to give Humps some digging area or else he's going to jump up onto my borders, and I don't want that to happen. This is our jungle area, and right, so as I said earlier, one of my dogs, when he piddles on a plant, that plant is dead. It doesn't matter if it's really, really old and established, the plant can handle it a lot more. But if it's not, or if it's seasonal or something like that, it really cannot handle it. And he has killed so many of our really, really nice plants just from piddling on them. And so we've had to stop it. And so we decided that this area, you can't see it, I don't think, but there's a bench down there, and we go and sit in the middle of the jungle. But we've decided that this area isn't going to be an area where the dogs can go, and so we wanted a more permanent structure to stop them. And we've just used this, look, it's just a little, just got it off Amazon. It comes in like blocks. You just got 4 of those blocks. You put them into the gravel, and the boys can't get through into there. It is a shame, because I would like them to have access to that, to have a bit of a sniff around. But, you know, we tried it, and they were killing plants like really, really quickly. And so I thought it was a compromise. You know, we have half the garden where they can't go, but then they can have access to the rest of the garden. So, I mean, like I said, our garden really isn't very big, but, you know, we're trying to make it all work. So they have access to all down here. Again, all pots, so when they piddle on things, nothing's actually getting hurt or killed or anything. This is the greenhouse. They go in the greenhouse. I let them have access to the greenhouse. They can go in there and have a wander around and stuff. So they haven't got loads of room. I mean, we haven't got a big garden, but they have plenty of area to sniff around. I mean, if you had a puppy that needed to run around, this garden probably isn't very suitable for that, and you might have to, you know, if we had puppies that needed to run around, then probably the jungle area would have just had to be maybe grass. But because our dogs are older and they don't need that, they just need to sniff around, we found that it works fine for them not to have access to the whole garden. Another point, which isn't actually dog related, it's tortoise related. We have a tortoise, and tortoises dig fast, quickly and deeply, so she needs an area that's completely, there's no way she can dig. And it means it's great, because it means she has complete access to this whole bottom part of the garden. And then she eats busy lizzies and she eats petunias, so that's great, she can eat them. But it means she has access to all of this area, which is really lovely. You see, I scatter flowers around for her to find. It's not the only thing she eats other plants as well, but it means she has access to all of this area. She's not out here yet, because her actual house is indoors. It's open. She has free rein downstairs, and she has free rein out here. She can just come and go as she pleases, but she hasn't got up yet because it's cold, so she hasn't actually got up yet. But you can see how, okay, so we don't have the biggest garden, but we definitely have lots of flowers, lots of plants, we grow some vegetables, there's lots going on, and yet the dogs can have free rein to a degree. And it works because they're not damaging our stuff. We don't have to worry about them being out, they can just be out here. I mean, like I said, if you've got a puppy, then it's a different ball game, because these plants over here, they would have definitely, they'd have taken all the plants out of these pots, and the sempervivums, they would definitely have gone. So if you've got a puppy, you probably would have had to rely, maybe hanging baskets hanging off the fences, and maybe put more pots on the wall, stuff like that. You need to get stuff off the ground, because they will just dig things up. And I remember I had a German Shepherd once, and he was going, oh, here we've got Humps here. He was going through adolescence, and I had just planted a really nice rose. Oh, Humps is he going to go and dig? It would be great if he did. Yeah, and he was going through adolescence, and I just planted a really nice rose, and he just dug it up and brought it into me. Borders and puppies don't really work, but as they get older, if you've got a puppy now, oh, here we go, he's going to demonstrate beautifully. If you've got a puppy now and you're feeling a bit of despair because they're just destroying your garden, well, you can block bits off and help yourself out. But also, you know, as they get older, it will get better, and you will be able to have a nicer garden again. See, Hump's lovely. Do you see what I mean about peeing up plants and trees? That bay tree there isn't that old. I've only put it in a couple of years ago, and I don't know if it's going to survive all the peeing. At the moment, it seems to be doing all right. You're not really the problem, are you? But it's the other one that's the problem, little Albert. He, if you know my channel, then it's my little white dog, you know, my little old one. Something about when he pees, it just kills plants like no one's business, doesn't it? But you're a good boy. You dig your hole, don't you, darling? You like your hole, don't you? Yeah, I know you do. You like your hole. So we have to keep your hole for you, don't we, sweetheart? Yeah, we do. In the spring, bulbs all come up in there, because I put bulbs in there before he came along. And so he just sits in the middle of all the bulbs. It's quite sweet, really. I have to be a bit careful because daffodil and tulip bulbs, I think, are toxic to dogs. So I just have to keep an eye on him, make sure that when he's digging, that he's not digging any bulbs up. But what I did was I removed all the bulbs from the area that he actually digs in, and we seem to be okay. Don't we, darling? We seem to be okay. So that's it for today. That's how I have dogs and a garden. And like I said, on Thursday I'll show you how I keep it all clean and stop it from smelling, because it can get a bit smelly. Couldn't it, darling? Yeah, it can. Right, so you know where I am, all the socials, dog tip of the day on them. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to help wherever I can. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you and your dog have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.